Welcome to the Requel Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler. And I almost did my intro from my other podcast, The Krypton Report, but it was kind of funny. Yeah, this is a podcast where we take. Usually, I'm recording this in the car while I'm driving because that's where my brain works. But I've been off for a little while because of medical stuff. But usually, we record and I talk about things. But this is the podcast where we take a property and say, "Hey, if we were given it, what would we do?" And I don't know if anyone realized this, but I record these sometimes a lot earlier than when they're released because I was trying to keep to a 1 week schedule, you know, and not bombard with like everything. Because then it almost be maybe like daily or whatever. Because sometimes I have a lot of ideas and sometimes I don't. So I just decide, okay, one a week, and we'll kind of keep it going. So sometimes I'll reference something that happened, but then this doesn't get released for months, and it's just like, oh, maybe I should let people know that. But anyways, today we're going to talk about a thing from the 80s that has not been exploited. And what really helped me think about this more is I was at a comic book store and I saw that IDW was printing a new run of comics, and I was like, you know what? This would be awesome. So today we're talking SilverHawks. And if you're like, what's that? SilverHawks was created by Rankin Bass as like a space adventure alongside their Thundercat series. In I think it was the early 2000s, maybe 2011 Thundercat reboot, it actually referenced the villain from Silverhawks, Monstar, and I got super excited. So in a way, they kind of maybe are in the same universe. Who knows? But the idea is, in some distant future, you have a base with a um, his name is I think General Stargazer. I just what a blank on his rank. Commander Stargazer. Sorry, I was like, and he realizes that he can no longer basically police and watch space as the villain gangster Monstar, not Monster, has escaped. And on Earth, they find a way to bind through the special process humans to these metal exoskeletal suits because the thing is partly metal, partly real. The Silverhawks, and each member is like made of a different metal. Leader is Jonathan Quick, known as Quicksilver, made of silver. You have the Copper Kid, who is one of the aliens we are a friend with, and we have Bluegrass, who is basically like a country blues musician who is the Silverhawks pilot, and the twins, Steelheart and Steel Wheel. And I mean, the intro alone is just awesome. If you go and just watch Silverhawks, the intro, um, I loved it when I was a kid. I had so many of the toys. One Christmas, Quicksilver ship, I got like six of them because everybody was trying to make sure I got it for Christmas. It was hilarious. Um, But all that to say that the property is one that I feel like is kind of forgotten and could come back and be something unique because it's basically a giant space odyssey adventure. And if you get, I always think about, okay, I remember like playing Transformers as a child, right? And you would be like, I'm Optimus Prime. Then you'd be like, choo, 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 choo. Oh, I'm a truck now. And you could, or I'm a car. And you'd have to like pretend like you're a truck or a car. It was always kind of hard because you're trying to pretend you're a robot, right? And I watch the toys that come out now for kids and some of the cool stuff they have. And like I was sitting here thinking, like, man, like if you did Silverhawks, you could make like the backpack thing where you push your arms in and pull out, and it would shoot the wings, similar to like I've seen toys with Buzz Lightyear. Um, you could have the face mask where it comes up, and then you could slide it down. So I think the toys would be awesome for this, and I like the idea of something that's fantastical and space adventure. Besides just Star Wars. I talked about before how in my Voltron pitch, how I thought Voltron is just primed, ready there to be a a movie because it's like Transformers meets Star Trek, especially when the J.J. Abrams Star Trek was out, and we had the Michael Bay Transformers. I felt like, bam, that was your time to bring in Voltron. And with Silverhawks, I still think that it's about that same kind of thing. Is it's an '80s property, right? But it hasn't been overly exploited. but it could feel new, it could feel fresh, but just it gives this fun action adventure space odyssey where it can be a really good versus evil battle. And the story, you just follow along basically. It's in the distant future, and we need stronger soldiers. And the allied planets, not that many, take these volunteers to see if they can survive this process of basically becoming these human cyborg Silverhawks, these mechanical people. And you can explore the relationships of the twins, of the leader, Quicksilver, Bluegrass, and then the Copper Kid they get. And then I know that later on another Silverhawk showed up, and that'd be something you'd say for the sequel. But I really feel like there's a lot of allegorical stories you can tell with these characters about coming together, common enemies, fascism, um, all the things that sometimes are wonderfully explored in other forms than just straightforward. And who doesn't love a good space battle? We had Guardians of the Galaxy. That was amazing. Yes, it's Marvel and everything, but it still can be in that same vein. Um, but I really think that Silverhawks will be something awesome. I could go more in depth with the pitch about breaking down like Jonathan Quick's story and the twins about how maybe you have still Will really wanting to do it, and his twin sister doesn't want him to, and she ends up joining up too because of him, and he has a guilt over it. But there's an emotional trauma you can bring to these characters about the lives that they're living and leading, and what they're giving up. Because in essence, they're becoming something completely different, and there's not like a reversal process. Like, this is who they are now. They're not wearing suits. They are like living living suits. And the idea that this is something they have to do themselves to protect the galaxy. Um, so yeah, check it out. Just Google on YouTube, um, Silverhawks cartoon intro, and it kind of gives you a really good sense of the show. But check it out. Let me know your thoughts on the Silverhawks.